Hello everyone, welcome back to our next session on Talend Data Integration Studio course. In this session, we will see how do we create our first project and we shall create our first job and see how can we run the job for getting the results. Let's get started. Just to recap, in our previous session, we have seen how do we download the Talend Studio from Talend website, and once we have the studio in our local machine, we would go ahead and follow the instructions for the installations. So once we have the studio installed, we would see a folder created like this with the version details and the system details. And once we get into this folder, we would see application file. This application file helps us to start our studio. All you have to do is go ahead and double click on this application file. You can always create a shortcut for this and place it on your desktop for easy access. Well, yes, there is our Talend Studio. This is the first window of our Talend Open Studio for data integration. Here we have options for creating a new project, for importing a demo project, and for importing an existing project. And we also have some other options like manage connections and the connection with which you are connected. I'll show what are these tabs used for. When you click on manage connections, this is where you will connect to a remote servers. Let's say you are operating on a Git or SVN repositories, and you can connect to that remote repositories using this option. All you have to do is give your name and description of that remote project that you have already established in your organization, and then your work email with which you have the Talend access. This is when you go for a Talend Enterprise Edition and you have an work email associated with the Talend Enterprise Edition. You give that email, and once you move to a remote repository, it would ask for the password as well. Since we are in the local repository, we will leave all these connections as it is, and we will start with our first project. This workspace is the folder where all our Talend jobs would be saved. This folder is nothing but this folder. So wherever you have the setup installed, by default, there is a one workspace folder created in your setup studio, and this place helps in storing all the existing jobs that we are creating. For now, I will leave this as it is. You can always go ahead and choose one folder that you want to use for this. So this is a configurable path. You can always specify the path where you want to store these jobs. So now let's come back. So in this window, we see options for creating a project and importing demo project as well as existing project. Now that I have couple of existing projects, I see them listed here. If you're doing this for the first time, this pane would be empty. You will not have any projects. Once you go ahead and create a new project with this option, or if you import any of the existing project or a demo project, that projects will be displayed here. So this pane ideally displays all the projects that are available in your workspace. So let's go ahead and create our first project. Let's give this name as project _ Talend. Things to remember here. A project name is always case insensitive. However, it should always start with a letter, with an English letter followed by numbers can be there, and there could be a hyphen or an underscore. Only these are the allowed values that a project name should have. So it's always case insensitive, and you can only have English letters, numbers, hyphen and underscore. In fact, a hyphen is also deemed as an underscore. So now that we have given our name to the project, and we will go ahead and click on create. See, once you have the project created, that is listed here. You can always switch between these projects. Once you have launched the studio, I'll show how can we switch across the multiple projects. For a quick introduction of these options that we have, importing a demo project will help you to import any of the existing projects that Talend offers. According to the availability and the studio licenses and the studio product that we have, Talend offers various demo projects. This helps us in understanding various functionalities of the tool, and there are some inbuilt jobs that are available that you can reuse and build upon. So this is there for getting started with a Talend Studio. And importing an existing project is when you already have a couple of projects that are developed in Talend. Let's say you were using a previous version of Talend, Talend 6.1 or any other versions, and you want to import them to your new version studio. That's when we use this import an existing project. For now, we will go ahead with our project, come back to this button, and then let's click on our project and then click on finish. This will initialize our project connection. As it initializes the project that we have just created, let's understand what a project is about. So we have seen or we have understood that Talend is useful for building ETL jobs. So let's say when we are saying ETL jobs in workflows, there are multiple components and multiple tasks and multiple sub-jobs that are associated in a workflow. When you have an end-to-end workflow, there are not just jobs, but there are routines, there are context parameters, there are other components that we go ahead and create in the studio. All this would be encapsulated under a hierarchy called project. So this project is the high level structure that the data is stored, or the jobs that are stored inside the Talend Studio. This can be seen as the highest physical structure available in the Talend Studio. Okay, now that our project is ready, once we have created our project, this is the welcome screen where you have options for reading the documentation of Talend, and it gives simple demos and tutorials to start with. For now, let's go ahead and close this. And there you go. This is our Talend repository view. Here, let me show you different views that Talend has. So yeah, this is the repository view till this part. This is our actual designer window, and there are components or windows that are available here. I'll explain what of this each window is for. And then we have a palette. Here there is an outline and there is a code viewer. Please don't be surprised. Everything looks blank now, and everything would get populated once we have our first job ready. How do we create our first job? Go ahead to the job designs in the repository view, right click and then say create job. That's it. This gives a window for creating our first job. Let's go ahead and say job underscore first. Again, it's always good to give some details. What is the purpose of the job? This is the first job, and then some description related to the job. Description should include what is the job designed for. This job is to print a message. It's been a tradition to always print the hello world whenever we are starting with any new programming language or a tool. Why to break it? Let's go ahead and print a hello world message using Talend. So now that you have given a name for the job, you have given a purpose, and you have also given a short description. Here you're seeing some other options like the author, locker, version, status, path. Author is by default the user with which you have logged in. Since we are using a local connection, this is by default driven to user@talend.com. Locker is where when we are working on a Git repository synced Talend Studios or SVN repository synced studios, we might come across a use case where you are trying to edit a job and then a team member of yours would also want to edit the job. In order to have the atomicity and in order to have one version of code being edited at one particular time, there is this locker. So this locker helps the user to lock that particular job whichever he is working upon. Once the lock is released, that job is available for any other user for further changes or updates. That's the purpose of this lock. Well, yes,